All right, everybody. Just a quick announcements as per usual before we start the podcast. Here on Friday, we're going to be streaming the Yearnament number 2. It's our excuse to get down with some old school classics like Fighters History Dynamite. If anyone's familiar with Karnov's Revenge, you're going to be playing it here on 10 p.m. EST on Friday, so don't forget to tune in. And then on Saturday, we have the second Fight of Animals tournament for Nintendo Switch, the Nintendo Rematch, which will be actually fiercely requested by the community. So we're gonna have a pretty decent turnout. So I look forward to everybody tuning into both of those tournaments. So if you're interested in watching fighting games this weekend, don't forget to keep it here, and we'll be starting the podcast. And as usual, I'm your host. You've probably seen me here before, and we're back with the catch-up episode of the GBL Podcast. As usual, I'm joined by Aliens. Aliens, say hello.
What's going on, everybody?
And in the house, I have Diz. How you doing, Diz?
How you doing, sir?
It's good to have you both. Now, when we
Good to be
last
here.
got together for the podcast, we had a very lengthy discussion about a very singular topic, but the news cycle is never this forgiving. So this week we're going to be doing a special catch-up episode where we're talking about the various topics that we have not looked over in the last while or have only mentioned in passing over the past few streams. And then on Friday we'll have a special episode talking exclusively about EVO 2020. So the takeaway of this is this. We're going to go through all these topics that I have here. We're going to talk about Guilty Gear. We're going to talk about Halo 2. We're going to talk about Final Fantasy 7, The Last of Us, Ghosts of Tsushima, Streets of Rage, Mortal Kombat, which has fresh news as of today, so lucky us. And we'll go ahead and dip a little bit into some upcoming announcements. But the overall idea here is to go through every one of these topics and say, what is the main takeaway? What is the big idea? What should we really be saying about these things, right? When we've had time for these things to process internally. So what do we really think? And I think probably the first one that we can talk about is Guilty Gear Strive. And I guess to kick it off with something that was, I guess, very controversial, it's without a doubt that the Guilty Gear Strive beta is probably the most controversial thing I've seen since the last Guilty Gear game, which would say sufficient about how Arxis is willing to change the rules and really switch things up in order to sell a product, right? I don't know, Diz, what do you think about it? I know you only saw it, but what do you think about it based on your observation?
Yeah, sadly, I had to be on the outside looking in because I am not a PlayStation owner. But okay, overall, Guilty Gear Strive is a very, let's say, polarizing title.
Oh yeah, extremely.
Like on the surface, if you were just to look at it coming from either other fighting games or the previous Guilties, you would come in and see like two or three things and be like, I I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. I can't with any of this. This is all really goofy. What happened to my series? Uh, like even people were like, yo, they don't even really play Guilty. They still see it and understand because Guilty Gear is a very like it's a very specific look and feel that everybody sort of knows.
Right. There are, but
But if you scratch beyond the surface a little bit, you sort of end up seeing the reasoning for a lot of decisions. That still doesn't make a lot of the decisions like good or bad, but they should be absorbed with a little bit more time than what the beta gave you. And this isn't even jumping on other issues like net play and the
yeah,
UI.
you're
Like
talking
some of those
about
are inarguable.
yeah, you're just talking about what is the situation with the gameplay, right? Like, and I think
Yeah.
that a lot of people want to talk about the gameplay because they don't want to talk about the rest of it, right? I mean,
Yeah, no,
that's what I
the gameplay
get.
and the soundtrack.
Yeah, right.
That's
Well,
what
like
they're
we all
talking
want to
about right
talk
now.
about every time we talk about Guilty Gear, we all have this good time because we're all talking about the game, like the gameplay, which some people like, some people don't, I guess, and the music and the presentation, and that's great, right? And then we get booted out to lobby because the game disconnected, right? And then we have to
Right.
deal with the whole other myriad of situations. Now, um, you played it, Aliens, a little bit more than I did. I played it a little bit, And what do you
Hmm.
think? I know you're not familiar with Guilty Gear as a series.
Yeah, I'm not very familiar with the series, but as probably my first real impression of the game and the franchise, in general, I thought it was a lot of fun. It was fun. It was definitely, something that took some time to get used to, right? Because of course you have to get used to all the different characters because you have to figure out, which characters are more of charge characters and more of quarter circle forward characters and all that kind of stuff, right? So I mean, after a while, getting the hang of it, um, it definitely does seem like it's a lot of fun. I didn't play it when it went online because I was busy playing Final Fantasy. Don't blame me. Don't at me.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
always
mean,
feel free to do.
it was cool. I liked it. I liked it. I just think that it would have been a lot better if there could have been a two player mode, obviously for obvious reasons. But um, I think it's different. I think it's a much different game. Of course, the sprites. I definitely like the art design of the game, as you guys mentioned. Right, the soundtrack was really. I don't want to sound old or whatever, but it sounds gnarly. I guess
Hmm.
it's cool. It's really cool, man. And then um, the little super specials. I guess you can do it. A special moves that you can do it. It's just a whole bunch of lights on the screen, and it's pretty. It's cool.
It's
It's really.
explosive.
Yeah. It's
Hmm.
definitely um a very it's a very artistic game, right? It's very um well designed, right? Especially with the backgrounds, like that background that they had with the sage where they were in the sky and things like that.
Hmm.
Like the yeah, like
I
when
mean,
they
I
paint
like
something
those
like
aspects of
that.
the thing, right? I do think that
Yeah.
I think the visuals are great, the audio is interesting, um, but I mean, I think that the Guilty Gear Strive beta, the issue is that what was it called? It was called the closed beta test, right? I don't know what they wanted us to take away from this necessarily
Hmm.
because it just kind of exploded, right? The feedback that the community gave was just this like paint bomb of ideas. Like one, the UI needs to be fixed. Two, the online lobbies are the most hideous thing anyone's ever seen. Three, the gameplay is fundamentally strange, right? Like I don't know where they want to improve. Maybe all of it. I hope all of it, because that's the only choice I'm giving them at this point, to improve it in all aspects, to really polish and really look at the choices they're making and see how far they need to be in terms of being different versus being traditional, right? And present something that's a little easier to play. Um, I don't think Guilty Gear Strive does itself any favors by having a difficult to use UI. I don't think it does itself any favors by breaking one of the simplest to understand combo systems that has ever existed in fighting games. I've played every single Guilty Gear, and the fact that they're willing to fundamentally uproot the combo system and make it basically the same as like a Street Fighter game to me, because to me, I'm just gonna play this like Street Fighter now. I'm gonna hit a jab, I'm gonna confirm into a special, I'm gonna burn meter if I got it, and I'm gonna use reversals, right? But
Hmm.
that isn't the way Guilty Gear has traditionally played. So I don't know if winning a Street Fighter and losing a Guilty Gear in the process is that interesting to me, right? Like there's gonna be a new Street Fighter game, guys.
Hmm.
That gameplay is
Definitely.
never gonna leave. But what I would prefer we didn't lose is a game like Exard, where I can play the mechanics of Guilty Gear as I've always known them, and that have pretty much sustained themselves to some degree for the past, I don't know how long has it been, 20 years. I mean, I played the first one, I love the first one, and I played Exard, and I still play Exard. So it's very um, it's very interesting. I guess that some of the characters that they introduced were very interesting. I thought Axel in this particular iteration of Guilty Gear actually comes out as a very interesting character because they are able to break some of the rules. So hopefully them being able to break the rules gives us opportunities to explore the characters from different angles and enjoy it, right, as a new experience. But in summary, with Guilty Gear, fix the UI. I found it very funny that we have this problem. Every other fighting game I press two buttons and I'm playing an online game. Um,
Hmm.
I find it very strange that they would make this experiment
Even Street
a
Fighter Five
reality.
wasn't that
Yeah,
inconvenient about it.
yeah, no, nothing. nothing really ticks me off more than an Arxis lobby, and then to tell me that somehow they managed to make it more complex and unneeded is it's pretty it's pretty surprising actually to tell me that you could
Well,
go beyond something like that. Like, you
that
guys,
sounds like them though.
I'm like I've put in so many hours to Dragon Ball Fighters, and I'm just so sick of that lobby. And I'm like, what if we did it but even harder? What if we made it even harder to use? I'm like, how do you do that? Is that possible? You guys already made it hard, and I don't know. I think a lot of people are gonna play it for sure, and I hope the rollback netcode that they're promising us is good, and I'm glad that that is being done. But I don't know if it's necessarily going to sell me. I probably won't be somebody who's like launch day excited for this game. Unless they show us a very cool character, which they just haven't yet. I mean, they've shown us characters that I'm familiar with, but they haven't shown us a character that I'm genuinely, you know, in love, and
Interested
I want to
into.
I'm
try that
so
as soon as I log in.
Right.
I'm so triggered that they showed a super cool dude back at the reveal trailer for the game, and we haven't seen him since, and we don't even know his
It's
name.
so strange, right? Because we look at it like, oh, this Guilty Gear game is going to break all the rules, but it hasn't shown us new characters yet, right? Like they haven't shown us the new and improved characters that they may be able to do with this formula. Because who knows, right? Like some of the characters feel really good. People really liked Potemkin. People, I liked
I like
Axel.
Kai.
Yeah, Kai
I like
is,
Kai.
Kai's got some very subtle changes that some people really like. Some I've had some people who really play Kai in Exar tell me they don't necessarily like it, but he's a cool character. And I mean, who knows? Maybe there's like some really cool newcomer that takes advantage of the new systems and just blows our mind, right? I think fighting games, even when you don't like them that much, can be sold on a character. I mean, hell, I really like Ed.
Absolutely.
Ed in Street Fighter Five is kind of the reason I play that game these days. And a lot of people kind of feel that way about a certain character, like, oh yeah, I play Street Fighter or Tekken because I really like that character, and that's why
Yes,
I'm grinding that character. So
I'm
here's
big on that
hoping,
thought
right?
process.
Here's hoping that we
Sometimes,
get something like that.
sometimes I'll pick up a fighting game just for like one move.
Exactly, exactly. I
Like I
mean,
play Dragon Ball Fighter Z explicitly for Trunks' Heat Dome attack.
it's great. I mean, yeah, I mean, falling in love with a character in a fighting game is one of the main reasons to stick to it. So I hope that they're able to show us better character, newer characters. I guess just something new. Give us something interesting to look at. Don't make me look at Guilty Gear in the lens of a traditional Guilty Gear. Make me look at Guilty Gear through the lens of something new, right? And hopefully that will be
Uh
the
huh.
case.
Yeah, it evolves, of course. Yeah.
Right. I'll
So
say things are a little reactionary, a little like overreactionary
extremely.
right now. So, like, I would say, like, once we get like another test in or something, and the heat dies down, they introduce another character or two. I think people will be more willing to listen to what Arx is trying to sell with this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
I think that it was kind of like a shock value that the beta test was. I mean, we wanted to test the network, and then we ended up having to test the lobby, and we had to test the characters, and we had to test just the overall gameplay. Like nobody was sure what to go in. We kind of knew what was changing from the start because there was gameplay before, but everyone's like, well, what does that really feel like? Because some of the changes, especially with Gatling and stuff like that, were just so bizarre. I think for them to really introduce that, people were like, oh, we're gonna have to wait until this is in our hands for us to really understand. So yeah, everyone is kind of shell shocked by that thing.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, I thought it was like I said, it was really really interesting to play a different type of fighting game that I haven't really played. Like I'm actually looking at the old footage that we have, and I just remember watching Faust. Like I thought he was cool as hell, playing as him and the way he's designed and all the moves that he does. It's really cool, man. Like it's just so abstract. I guess that's a perfect way to call Guilty Gear such an abstract game. And it gives a lot of praise to the amount of creativity that these guys that are working on this game arc and stuff, right, that they have for being able to promote their game and to draw people in, right? I mean, it's not it definitely doesn't feel like a traditional fighting game, right? So not only do you have the gameplay, but you have also the visuals, the music. It seems so arcadish to me, and I think that's really cool. I think that's really cool, and I do at least look forward to playing some more of it. Hopefully, sooner rather than later. But it's definitely something that
At
I
this point,
enjoyed. I would have to have more time with it though.
they can take as long as they like, if you ask me, because if they have, I mean, they can't ship it the way it came out in the beta test. I mean, even if they fix the servers, even if you never have any disconnects, the overall presentation of the game, I think, needs a serious reconsideration.
Mm.
As much as I mean, people like the gameplay, right? So just
Hmm.
keep riff on that, make us new things based on that gameplay. But overall, the overall product, I mean, I don't even have to say it. The UI was a disaster. The lobbies are the worst thing I've ever seen, and hopefully they're able to rebuild or at least come up with solutions that make them easier to navigate, because there's just no way they're going to change it all this close to release, right?
Hmm.
Like that thing, this horrible lobby that you guys saw, believe it or not, we talked about this on the last episode, took months and months to make. There's a whole team involved in doing that, so they can't just all
Hmm.
throw it out, right? It'd be great if they did, but I really don't think that's really possible for a company, you know, like Arc System Works development team, or even anyone really. I can't imagine anyone really throwing out the whole book like that.
Yeah,
But
this
yeah,
late in the whole process too. Yeah.
I look forward to hearing more about it. I'm definitely gonna have to keep my eyes on it. I think as soon as the minute something new comes out of this, everyone's gonna know, because everyone wants to know what this thing's gonna look like at launch and whether or not it's gonna be, I don't know, popular, I guess, right?
Hmm.
I don't know if a Guilty Gear fan necessarily cares about being popular, but I mean, this is the first kind of like new wave of fighting games that's really coming out from AAA studios. Strive is probably the first. I
Yeah.
don't think there's a new Street Fighter.
It
There's no
yeah, it is.
there's no Smash
It's
Brothers. There's no Tekken. There's
Nope.
Samurai Showdown is
no.
recent. It's the first, so
Yeah.
all eyes on them for going first, right? Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's
I
Guilty Gear.
think the only one really like announced besides them was KOF.
Mm-hmm. And we
That's
don't
all
even
we
know what
got.
that looks like yet. So we got
They're leading
Strive
the
to look
way.
at. There's nothing else to look at. First cross chat says first cross platform potentially. I don't know, maybe, right? I hope so. Um, I never
Could
trust
be.
Arxis to do stuff like that. They're very console specific.
Mhm.
But we'll see. So that's Guilty Gear. All our thoughts about Guilty Gear are evacuated. So now we have to talk about Halo 2. So Halo 2, if anyone's curious, we played the insider beta here on the stream, and we're very happy to announce that as of today, we know that it's coming out for PC on May 12th. So we're going to be playing Halo 2 again very soon here on the stream.
Again.
Again, I'm happy. I'm happy
Yeah.
as I could be to be
I'm
playing.
excited.
I had honestly, let's talk about the insider flight, because I had a blast. The insider flight, Halo 2. I played Reach. I played Reach on launch. I didn't play the flight for that one. Think we played CE, or was it when it came out, Aliens? Or you played it, right?
I
Something
played
like
it.
that. You played it, and
I
I
played all of
saw
them
it.
so
Yeah,
far.
yeah. You saw it. And then Halo 2, I got the flight, and that was the best one.
Yes.
That was the best one I've seen so far. That was my favorite. But I mentioned it. It's because Halo 2 and Halo 3 are my era of Halo, right? Like Halo has been around
Yes.
for a very long time, so Halo 2 going into Halo 3 are the games that I've spent immense amounts of time with. So I didn't play Halo 2 Anniversary back when it came out. I was not buying Xbox games back at the time.
Yeah. Same
And
here.
one of the things that I was very pleasantly surprised about is that Halo 2 Anniversary was built back in Halo 4 days, and it just looks like $1,000,000, because at that
It
point Halo
does.
Reach had come out. It already looked great. Halo 4 came out. That game looked great. And Halo 2 Anniversary brings the maps forward that I'm familiar with and gives them this fresh coat of paint, and it looks and it plays as good as it needs to be, especially now in 2020, right? Like, it doesn't feel clunky necessarily. And Halo 2 has some weird mechanical features, right? Like there was new weapons and dual wielding and stuff like that. So the fact that
Hmm.
it all feels great is really a testament to the quality of these games. Um, I am looking forward to playing again. This is gonna
Yeah.
have to be the point where I play the campaign again, because
We have to play the campaign again. I mean,
yeah.
just the way it looks, right? With the anniversary edition, right? Because obviously we played already the classic, and wow. I mean, it looked so bad compared to what they had done. And like
Oh
not
yeah.
to take anything away from classic, but I just want to give the distinction between what it was then and then how improved everything looked with the anniversary, right? So it's like wow, it's like almost a brand new game in a way, right? it was really something. I was really impressed on how
Yeah, I
well it looked.
think anniversary for Halo 2 is just this amazingly improved product compared to the first one for Halo CE,
Right, because
which
it didn't look like that at
it
all.
changes
No
the
way.
art style, it changes just the way things are presented. It doesn't fit with the rest of the series necessarily. I mean, Halo CE, I would play on Classic because that game is just
Yes.
kind of it has that cultural, I guess, presence of mind as a game built in that era, and it needs to look a certain way. But Halo 2, I mean, geez, the thing, it all looks so good under the Halo 4 engine that I'm very pleased with the way it looks in remastered graphics. So yeah, I'm super excited to be playing again. It's gonna be in 2 days. I'm sorry, no, 4 days. Today is the no, not even. I'm completely off. It's gonna
Next
be
week. Next
this
week today.
time next week. I was like the 8th. I thought today was
Right.
like the 8th. I'm like, yo, what day is it? All right,
You're
yeah.
in the
So this
future,
Where,
time
where
next
it's tough to
week.
figure
bro.
out time right now.
I know it. Time is just gone for me.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, it's gonna be on the 12th. This time next week, we're gonna be back playing Halo. I'm most likely just gonna be streaming the day it comes out, just playing it,
Yeah,
just playing even more
guaranteed.
MP. I mean, the thing about it is that I want to go back and I want to filter my playlist and really enjoy all of the game modes and go back to like 4v4 because we played tons of 8v8, right? But the 4v4 maps in
Tough,
Halo
man.
2 are some of the best out there, in my opinion. That's why they were so good that they had to put them in Halo 3 because they were just amazing. So
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna have a great time. So
Yeah. Same
that's
here.
Halo 2. I don't know. You have any other closing thoughts about that?
Um, I think your favorite's just around the corner, man. I mean, when did
Oh
CE
yeah.
come out? I think CE came out of what, February? I think it was March. So I'm assuming that three is probably gonna be ready. Okay, it's May by July, perhaps. Because remember, there's gonna be a show now for I think Halo Infinite in July. So I'm sure they're probably gonna do something right around that time to fit in with that announcement that they're gonna have the reveal for some stuff on Infinite. So yeah, Squid's right. They might do ODST before it, or
I
they
don't
might
think you
release it
can.
simultaneously too.
I don't think you
Now if they
can
do
do
that
ODST before
simultaneously,
3. It's just addressing the chat. Just because I mean, you could, but that would involve porting the engine, right? Because you would have to go through the work of porting Halo 3 to port Halo ODST. They're fundamentally the same types of games, right? Um, they're fundamentally the same games under the hood, right? They have different scripting and story, and yeah, they do have a chronological order, right? Halo 2,
yes,
ODST, Halo 3, but
I think they should do it at the same time. I think
I
that
yeah,
would be fucking genius.
I think that simultaneous release would probably be the best. I mean, if they do ODST first, I really like the ODST campaign. It's my
Place on
favorite.
Firefight.
Yeah, and Firefight, right? Like ODST campaign to me is probably the best, right? It's one that I've had a lot of time with, so I am. I mean, if they want to give it to me sooner than later, just be my guest, right? But
Yeah,
I don't
right.
necessarily think that's going to be. Uh, I don't think that's going to be the case
I'm
for
actually
this
looking at
specific
my
release.
ODST right now. Remember, because I told you I found it, and I'm like, oh shit, I still have it. I'm looking at that right here, and
Hmm.
I'm looking at Reach. I'm like, wow, I can't believe I still have these games, man. So you know, I'm just excited because I remember playing part two, way back at a friend's house, right before the launch of the 360. So I caught on to it late. And it was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun. And then obviously a 360 came out. I had a 360, and then part three came out, and I bought that. And that was really the first Halo I actually played in full. And I loved that game. Part three was fucking amazing
Oh yeah.
for its time. So that doesn't take anything away from two, because two, for its time, was there. That was the game on console,
Oh,
right? I
I
mean,
mean,
so
I think Halo 2 is a great game, and I think the fact I mean, this is a game that you can play on PC now, so the fact that they're porting it over to PC is great, but 3 on PC is going to be a huge moment. I think in terms of releases, that's a game that you know it's taken us this long. I guess we can wait a couple of months, right, for the PC version.
yeah,
I mean, it's been
it'll
how
be
long?
quick.
How long when did it last? When did it come out? 10 years ago? 10 plus years ago? What year was that
Came
that
out
came out?
'07, I think it
Oh
was.
07, yeah, oh 07, and I'm
Ooh.
like, it's been over 10 years. You guys can take your time. If you didn't put it out on PC the first time, just wait, just do it right. I mean, nobody's pressuring you at this point. Anyway, Halo, looking forward to it. Halo 3,
Absolutely.
as soon as possible. We're going to be playing it. We're going to be having a lot of fun. Now, moving on to stuff that we have played again. Final Fantasy VII Remake is finally out. And a lot of things have been said about it. There have been story bombs dropped all over the place. There's been excellent reviews. There's been questions of where the hell any of this goes next. And I guess I do
Mm.
have to preface this. We're going to talk a little bit about spoilers. Not too much. Just what kind of game is Final Fantasy VII Remake uh, as an adaptation? Is it something new? You know, did we walk away with something new? How does it feel for people who are new to the game? People who have never played Final Fantasy VII back in the day, right? Like, what is it for them? And I don't want to say where do we go from here, but how excited are
Mm-hmm.
we to go from here? Because the fact is, nobody knows where we're going from here. Uh, so Final Fantasy VII, Aliens, you finished this game. Tell me about it.
I think, man, like I said, I've always said I've never been much of a Final Fantasy, fan, right? I didn't play it growing up, right? Just like a lot of you probably did, right? So this was my first game um in the series, and yeah, like I said before, when the demo came out, it's just so welcoming. It's refreshing. It's definitely a refreshing title. Especially with the last few years where all we've been playing is some games very similar to Dark Souls and then you have Sekiro and all these kind of games where it's a tough, difficult game, but it's not that kind of game that I think really transcends. But this game was first announced in 2015, right? And it's 2020, and it's throughout. Personally, this is my opinion. Throughout the whole generation, this has been the most anticipated game, period. If you ask me, right? You can argue, oh, it's The Last of Us. Nah, yo, listen, this is a remake, and people are this hyped for a game. Like, just put it in perspective, man. You know, this game sold 3.5 million copies during a pandemic in 3 days. You know what I'm saying? So like, what does that tell you about the game? And myself coming into the series as a newcomer, like I said, it was just so much more refreshing, right? It was just so much more refreshing playing the game, and the mechanics were like were so welcoming. I've played a good part of the game. I haven't finished it yet though because I'm just playing so many other games and it's just so much to do. But I like it a lot, man. I really like this game. Like I think I love it, man. I think I love Final Fantasy VII, man. Like I think this is the perfect title for someone such as myself to get themselves involved into JRPGs, right? Because hopefully what they'll do is they'll start making more of these games in the similar manner to attract new players in. And if they do that, sky's the limit, man. Because it just I don't want to say it revolutionizes or evolves the entire genre, but it kind of reimagines it. It's very reimagined, and
Okay.
I think it's a great title. The graphics are great, only sake for some low res areas, but I mean I'm playing on a base PS4, and it's great, man. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Actually, it's a little too much fun because once you start playing the game, it's kind of hard to drop the controller. It's really hard to put the controller down. Like you have to remind yourself, like, yo, I need to go to sleep, or yo, I've been playing this shit for fucking 6 hours. I need to stop playing. But that's a good sign of a game that tells you how engaging the game is, and the characters have a lot of depth to them, a lot of personality. I didn't play the first one, so I can't really compare it, but just the interactions between, for example, Cloud and Tifa and Barrett and all these guys, right? It's just so engaging, man. It feels like you're playing a movie,
Oh yeah.
and I think that's awesome. I think it's great. I think it's great
It
direction.
is intensely cinematic, that's for sure.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot, man. It's a really good game. I'm glad I bought it. I do need to spend more time with it, so I do plan on finishing it sooner rather than later. But I like it a lot, man. I like it a lot. I'm not gonna front.
Yeah, it's very interesting how it brings this entire. You put it pretty well. The genre is moved forward by this game, um,
Yes.
Mm.
because were able to present a game that was huge in scope previously and remake it under today's graphics or today's sensibilities and deliver something that feels 10 times more immersive, right? Like the original Final Fantasy 7 is this huge project, and it feels like a lot of Square Enix RPGs during that time were intensely huge during the time, right? Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 6, Vagrant Story, you know, anyone, name it, right? They're all huge games, and we've kind of gone through a very long year of kind of previous years of kind of subdued stories, right? Much more personal experiences, and this is the grand adventure of a JRPG making its like blockbuster debut again, right? Like there have been
Mhm.
JRPGs before this one, but I wouldn't say all of them have been like as big and explosive and overall character driven as this one has, right? Like there are gonna be examples of games that have moved JRPGs forward, and Final Fantasy VII Remake is gonna probably leave a very lasting impression, much more than Final Fantasy 15, that's for sure. Um, the previous installment that Square Enix put out, I mean, they took forever to make that game too, but it didn't move the genre forward
Right.
necessarily, right?
I, I agree that I feel like that's a little bit of an unfair statement, just considering how much Final Fantasy VII means
Oh yeah,
to the gaming public as a whole.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 7 means a lot to a lot of people. Um, just the presence of Final Fantasy 7
It's
has
timeless.
defined Square Enix in almost every single game they've put out ever since, right?
Yeah.
I talk about this pretty frequently when people talk about Final Fantasy 7 in context of Square Enix. Like, you can talk about Remake, but Final Fantasy has 7 has been present in almost every single Square Enix title in some way or another, in every single game that they ever made after that. As soon as they realized that it was just this massive hit, right, and it just became this cultural icon of the PS1 era, that I
It's hard
applaud
to
them
live
for
up to that,
making it.
man.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's as good as
Yeah.
it is. Really is.
But that's a testament. That's a testament to their hard work, their vision, and also, a testament to the gamers that are actually enjoying this game, because it just unites people, man. I've noticed, for years how people, man, you start talking Final Fantasy 7, man, motherfuckers will sit down for hours talking about the game.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that's awesome, man. I think it's like movies, when people talk about cult classics or just classic movies overall. They'll sit there and they'll dissect this scene and that scene, and I've always gotten the impression from Final Fantasy 7 that it's kind of the same, right? People could sit there for hours talking about the game, and it doesn't get boring. You can sit there. Me as a newcomer, I used to have friends that would talk about it. I don't know what the hell they're talking about, but it just sounds so interesting, right? So for myself to get the opportunity to play the game in this current form, kind of lets me have a little part in those discussions, right? Because those guys are just super fans.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not a super fan, but I kind of have an idea what they're talking about, and it's just like I said, it just makes it so welcoming, and it's like being part of not, I don't want to say it's a part of a fan base, but it's part of an appreciation for the game, because that's why people talk about it so much, and that's why it is what it is to this day, over 20 years ago. You see what I'm saying? So like, it's like great music, man. There's albums that people still talk about to this day. So Final Fantasy is definitely that to the gaming industry, no doubt about it, man. And it's a special game, and I think 10, 15 years from now, the remake is going to be in the same position as the original. I think that's what I think.
Oh yeah. I mean, now with the way the story has fundamentally been changed in order for them to give us an idea of what they mean by remake, right? Like, what do they mean by
Mm-mm.
remake? Do they mean you know I think it's funny. A
Now
little
this
while
is
back,
uh,
just to kind of finish my thought, a little while back, somebody reminded me of the PlayStation 3 technical demo that they showed off, which was just like a remake of the intro of Final Fantasy 7 for the PlayStation 3. Like, we could have had the remake during the PlayStation 3 generation, and if it came out then, it probably would be what we thought this game was going to be.
Mhm.
a clean edge remake of the original that just kind of expands, maybe changes the gameplay, but just refreshes the graphics and makes the world look bigger and you know add dialogue, right? But this game is kind of a fundamental reimagining of what you think you're going into. I don't know. I mean, there are games that have stretched the meaning of remake before. Metal Gear Solid 2 comes to mind as a sequel and kind of changed what people thought about a sequel. But as a remake, this game kind of blew the doors out on what we should expect and how it really plans to expand on it. Diz, I don't know what you think about this.
Like I think this is sort of one of the times where remake is being used in the most proper context possible.
Oh, really?
Like you usually when people bring it up, they're actually referring to like a remaster
A
of
remaster,
Right.
yeah
right?
you yeah, but like this sort of almost from the ground up, almost like everything's the same, but it's really not sort of direction that it's taken. Like it's all like it's almost like they just sort of use the original Final Fantasy VII as a setting to just make this whole new game out of it. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's quite impressive to look at.
That's interesting,
Yeah.
right? Like, it almost feels like it almost kind of reminds me of like a D&D adventure, right? In a way. Now that I think about that, like bear with me. What it will, how I don't know how many people play D&D. You open
Mhm.
an adventure or a module and you're given a source material and you build on it and you change it and you make it more interesting because those are your sensibilities at the time versus what the original creator might have intended you to do. Um, it kind of feels like one of those situations. And that makes sense because they've said many times in the development of the game that a lot of the production staff for Final Fantasy VII, aside from the, old guard of Square Enix, are people who didn't make the game originally. They're just people who grew up with the game. So they look at it and they say,
Mhm.
there's things that we could do in this world that were not done the first time that can definitely be done this time, because now we have the technology and we have to grab the budget and the production
Mhm.
pipeline and all these things. So they're telling a story that is almost bigger, that is way bigger than the
It's almost from
original
a
was.
fan's point of
And
view.
yeah, exactly, from a fan's point of view. And the original was already a huge game, so it's gonna be one of those games that people look at with cinematic kind of wonder, like almost like a Star Wars trilogy, right? Like,
Mhm.
thankfully,
Mhm.
this game isn't coming out on a yearly basis, but they're gonna look at it in terms of like people are gonna obsess about this story for years and years and years. So I look forward to that. I look forward to being able to have that discussion and seeing where they go next, right? The fact that it's
Game
a
of the year.
shock, the fact that it's shocking, the
Game of the
fact
year,
that some
bro.
people are having any controversy about it, I think is a net positive for Square Enix, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
looking forward to talking about this for the next few years because I'm sure we're never gonna stop
Yeah.
hearing about this.
No, we
One
won't.
thing that it does for
We
me
won't.
is like it I one great thing is that I think it just throws the gauntlet down for what these established I guess you could say old guard like holy pantheon of companies can actually decide to do with their product if they ever want to go out and try to really start building out these remasters like everybody else did. Like this is sort of the era for it, so a lot of companies are doing it.
Yeah,
But now that Final Fantasy VII has come out, like everybody's now going to be looking at every other remake
You better bring it.
with that game in mind. Like
exactly. Yeah,
like
for
we
You
sure.
better
we
bring
just
it.
came off of a pair of Resident Evils, and we've like already kind of forgotten about them because of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah,
And those are
like,
great
guys,
games in their
the
own way.
biggest Resident Evil games ever got remade. Oh, but Final Fantasy came out, so
Yeah,
Oh, we
put
just
can
like
say
in
you too
PS1,
now.
put that over
just
there.
like PS1.
Exactly.
I'm
It's
not gonna lie, man. That's how I feel about it, man. I mean, I luckily I finished Resident Evil 3 the day it came out because it was such a short game, which is fine because the original was short. But I mean, I just really bought the game, to tell you the truth, because I wanted to play it, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, I gotta try to finish this as soon as possible because Final Fantasy VII is coming out a week after. So I'm like, I really want to spend some time with this game. So, and it's such a long game too, right? It could take anywhere between 30 to 40 hours. I've heard, right, depending on how much you play it.
yeah,
But
I've heard of a
you
30 or 40
know,
hour roll.
fuck, man. I mean, Final Fantasy VII is currently the best remake that exists, in my opinion. And I think the only one that might have a chance, possibly, to be on the same level would be Resident Evil 4.
If
Possibly.
yeah, but that's a whole thing. I've heard people say don't remake that game, but I've also heard people say
Exactly.
don't remake this game. So I don't know
Yeah, hurry up!
necessarily.
Don't remake Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, so
Well,
I mean something's gonna
here we
happen at some
are.
point. Yeah, here we are. Here we are in the post Final Fantasy VII remake world. We thought it would never come. The pantheon of games that were promised at E3 was it 2015? All those games are finally out now. Final
Hmm.
Fantasy VII,
Hmm.
Dreams, and The Last Guardian or something like that were the three games that were announced then and like never had never come out until like much later. Anyway, moving forward, I guess we need to address the rumor mill. So, Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. So, Last of Us
What a
2,
disaster.
what a disaster. Yeah,
What
absolutely.
a
Even
disaster, man.
I mean, I still don't know who to believe on this story, but recap. Like, let's recap. Basically, the entirety of the structure of The Last of Us 2 has been leaked on the internet. You can look for it or you can ignore it, but the fact is that people know about it. People know all the story beats now. They know what it
Hmm.
looks like, they know what it plays like. And that is a disaster because The Last of Us is a game that people who never play PlayStation in their lives, they had a PlayStation 3, right?
Yes,
That was a system seller if I've ever seen one. And the remastered version certainly sold a lot of copies. Um,
absolutely.
so for them to have this sort of leak is a pretty major statement on the reputation that Sony has, not only in I think as a game producer, but as a publisher, right? Like how much are people willing to necessarily respect the work of Naughty Dog that something like this would happen so suddenly and so seemingly without reason? So there were a number of accusations made. First, people thought it was a disgruntled QA member who had the game and, uh, you know, got
He said,
where,
"Fuck you guys. I'm
yeah, it
putting
was
this
like
out."
decided to stick it to
Hmm.
the man and put it out there for the world to see as a big statement. And then, wait, no, that's not true. The story changes. You know, they investigate it. Supposedly, Sony says nobody connected to Naughty Dog or Sony has been involved, right? And then they say, okay, well now it's a hacker story. The hackers have been uh
The
involved.
hackers.
The hackers got involved, and
That's
I
even worse, actually, I think, because they're saying that this had to do with a vulnerability in a previous title, a previous Naughty Dog title with a patch, and that's how they were able to get through. So, I mean, Sony, everybody remembers when they got hacked back in the PS3 time, and that was a disaster, and I think that was around the same time where I think Fox may have gotten hacked, maybe a year before, perhaps, with the Wolverine movie being leaked like a year early and all this crazy stuff.
Mm.
So that's already bad in itself because Sony, you already got hacked, right? And now one of your studios has a vulnerability that pretty much has ruined your biggest release in years.
now
And like I said before, you can argue The Last of Us, you can argue Final Fantasy VII. I would rather take Final Fantasy VII just because of what it means to people, the legacy, all of that stuff. But The Last of Us 2 if The Last of Us 2 was leaked because of you being hacked and not taking care of business how you're supposed to, right? Not covering your vulnerabilities and all these other things, that's even worse. Because that means who's running the place, man? What the hell is going on over there that you're not on top of all of these things? That your biggest IP release, this is your biggest IP. People literally have been waiting the whole generation for this game to come out, and it gets leaked because somebody wasn't paying attention to these things, and then they end up fixing it afterwards. That's just unacceptable, if you ask me. That's sad in a way. I mean, with the leaks and how people feel about it, I understand that people aren't happy about it because this and that. That's fine. If they didn't want to have to buy the game and then find out midway through the game that they weren't gonna like the rest of the story, and it saves them money, especially during a pandemic, I get it. But don't put the blame on who leaked it. That's what I think. I think if you're gonna hold anybody responsible, you have to hold Sony responsible and Naughty Dog. How can you allow this to happen where there's vulnerabilities where such information can get put out? That's crazy, man. This is your bread and butter. You've been working on this game for so long. It's been anticipated for so long, and you're gonna drop the ball, and then you're gonna try to point the finger. You should point it at yourself, man. It's your fault, nobody
Yeah, I
else's.
think Sony has kind of a track record at this point from the PS3 days,
Yeah,
with security
I mean,
vulnerabilities. And I
yeah.
mean, the thing is this, right? You're on the right track. If if this happens, and for the record, I think The Last of Us 2 is probably going to sell very well, um,
Yeah.
because
It more than
it's
likely will.
people who never read a gaming article in their lives, people who will never ever hear about anything related to gaming, will buy The Last of Us 2 because they bought the first one. Like that's the level of cultural value that I assign it, right? Like I can talk to people who've never played some of the most essential video games of all time, and they might have played The Last of Us because that game was just everywhere, especially in parts of the world where Sony has a larger market share.
Hmm.
Um, so it's gonna sell. I think at this point that's it's an inevitable fact, right? That game's gonna go on
Mhm.
shelves, it's gonna sell everywhere, and people are gonna play it. And whether or not it's good or not, people are gonna play it. Um, I kind of expect it to be a situation where the game's gonna get critically panned, based on what I've heard. I don't think it's necessarily gonna get rave reviews. Uh, if it does, great. If it doesn't, it's the same.
I think it will.
I'm not one of those.
Oh yeah.
I'm not one of the people looking forward to this game.
Look,
Uh,
I think it'll be fine. Like, here's my thing about leaks in gaming. Like, leaks in movies are super devastating because the things that you are told on the screen are quite literally every single thing about the
every
product.
single
Like,
part
if
piece of
you
value. Yeah, I see where you're going.
yeah, if you lose that, you do lose everything. Like,
And
yeah,
it's an experience too when you go into the theater, right?
right.
So it kind of ruins everything for you.
Right, and I understand like Last of Us is still like a sort of cinematic experience of a game, but at the basic level, it's a video game.
You still
If
have
your
to
video
play it.
game
Yeah,
can't survive a leak of
It's
like
probably
what
not
is
that good.
in the video game, it wasn't a good video game to begin with.
That's
Like,
what I was
so
saying. That's what I said. I mean, you could say this, you could say that. You know, don't give it. Don't say that. Oh, that's good. That's good writing. Or it's not,
like,
man. You know what
well,
I'm
I
saying?
like,
think
There's
it's
no
different, right?
labor.
I think you have to look at it a certain way, right? Like, you know what else though? And the thing is that The Last of Us 2 will be played by many people. But you know what's going to happen even more? A lot of people are going to watch it because now a cinematic
Yeah,
game comes out and people are going to watch it.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, everyone. I mean, hell, I'm guilty. Game comes out, people are going to watch me play it. I mean, that's it, right?
yeah.
So
We're
it's
streamers.
different.
Like,
Yeah,
this is gonna
we're
happen.
in that business. That's the world now. People, a major cinematic game comes out and you don't even have to play it. You can just watch someone play it and you're good, right?
And you
So
know everything about it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it is probably going to discourage maybe people from streaming it. I mean, if they hear the story sucks and people are, you know, already well aware of this going in, then maybe people are not going to watch it. Maybe people will play it because they still want to play it because they think that, you know, along
There's some
Diz's
sort of
train of
emotional
thought, right?
attachment too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
along Diz's train of thought, if they're still going to play it because it's a video game and at the end of the day most people are more interested in playing it. But
Hmm.
I don't know, man. I mean,
Yeah.
how many people are necessarily interested in the story now, right? How many people are necessarily going to be watching the game? How many people are going to make the conscious decision to stream this game? How many people are going to cover it? I mean, I don't know,
Oh
right?
no, it's definitely gonna take a hit, and it also depends
Absolutely.
like how protective, because with like big time cinematic style move with cinematic style games, the companies go a little bit harder at protecting what is shown by the player base.
All right,
So yeah.
if this is like about Atlas, I hate them for doing that. By the way,
Oh yeah, no,
if
they're
this is a dig
absolutely
at
right.
Atlas, that I don't like them. I don't like that policy. I
Look,
think Persona 5 that was a huge mistake.
man. you're no longer you're admitting that you're not a game if that's how it is. Like if you can't hold up to that, and some of the greatest games of all time you're not you can't be in the conversation anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I'm gonna see how that game gets received by the public, right, before it gets received by the press. I don't think the press at this
I think
point.
the press is gonna give good reviews, man.
I
I think
think
they're gonna
this.
try to
I yeah.
stay
I
true.
think this game is bigger than the press. At this point, like
Mhm.
Sony's gonna put it out and it's gonna sell like a million, no matter what. So I'm interested in seeing what the players say. I'm interested in seeing what people who play it think about it, right? And
I just
people
get the
who.
impression it's gonna be like, for example, Death Stranding was, I think it's like an
That's
82
another game.
average on
That's another
Metacritic.
game that people played the shit out of that game for whatever reason, and
Yeah, and the
like
Metacritic for the users was like 7.2 or some shit like that, 7.5. It was terrible, for such a expensive fucking game, So
I don't think it's
I
gonna
think
be
I
that
think they're gonna stay
bad,
true.
but I think it'll be something along that, right? Where people are like kind of a little maybe mediocre about their expectations for the game, and people are maybe not going to give it the best reviews. I don't know. I don't really.
Yeah.
Last of
Judgment's
Us was
gonna
a
be
game I
messed up.
played. Last of Us is not one of those games that I played for tons of hours.
Yeah,
I
same here.
understand that The Last of Us is good, right? I understand that the first one is good and is considered one of the best games of the PS3 generation, but selling me on another one's gonna be hard from the get go. I mean,
Especially with what we're hearing, and especially what we're hearing that it's nothing near the first one in terms of how the
oh
story
yeah,
is set up, right? I mean, the story of the first one was great, but if you're already hearing the rumblings and you're like, yeah, the story, I don't know so much. Well, I mean, the first one was all about the story. The gameplay came second in that, and the gameplay was good. It was fine.
yeah, the
Don't get
gameplay
me
was
wrong.
good. That's the worst part.
But if you're telling me that now they took a back seat, like, okay, how do you live up? How you live up to that then? You probably can't then, right? So you're just banking on the name, right? So if you're
it's
trying to bank on the name and the name is already getting fucking dragged through the mud, I don't know, man. Like I said, I think we might have another Death Stranding fiasco on our hands. I feel bad for the people that
You
worked on
know,
the game, but
Stranded made it out okay, so it's
it
whatever.
made it out okay. Yeah, it did, but like it's
but the hype on it, and all the money and all this shit, that was expected. But this is bigger. I mean, this is The Last of Us. This is really Sony's new baby, right? So
oh yeah.
Mhm.
All right,
I
let's.
don't know, man. I don't know how they're gonna be able to deal with it if it's just fucking if it gets castrated by the media, man. I don't know how they could bounce back. They might as well just leave it there
Honestly,
and not make another
honestly,
one.
my final take on it is that the game's gonna sell a million, and we're never gonna hear about a third one. In my
No,
opinion,
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
it's
we're
gonna.
ever
I
hearing
don't
about a
think it should.
sequel, a third
No,
one. No, no way. This
no,
game is
no
done.
way. You leave it. You leave it dead.
Don't make us
You
wait.
have to. You have to. I think. Because
Yeah,
if you're
it's
gonna put this out and you're not gonna cancel it now because it's so late in production, I mean it's already gold. That's it, man. You've already sold. You fucking you've already set your stone, and that's it, man. You're dealing
not.
with it and you're moving on.
Look,
So
look.
that's
I know the chat is saying what I want to say, which is that Naughty Dog will go back to making Jack and Daxter. But I mean, like, but like, I don't know. I mean, they've
Provided
been.
it plays like the first one, I'll
Yeah,
stand on that hill forever.
I mean, if they can, great, right? Like, I'd love to see Sony do some new stuff, but I don't necessarily know what they're gonna do. But that's crazy. This whole situation is just insanity. But yeah, it's gonna be one of those things to watch. So Ghost of
big
Tsushima
time.
is what day does that come out? July. Ghost of
Yeah,
Tsushima comes out in July.
Ghost of Tsushima, right? Ghost of Tsushima comes out on July 17th. So
July
that
17th.
game got pushed back
You
because
know
it was
what?
supposed to come out next month, and then since all this craziness with The Last of Us, it got pushed back because of it. Because it was supposed to come out, I think, the 26th of June, but Last of Us is coming out on the 19th of June. So obviously, you're not gonna have your two biggest IPs
No.
left.
You know what? No. I think that this whole thing is a travesty because that game looks much more interesting than The Last of Us.
That game looks sick, man.
Oh,
That
yeah.
game looks amazing. Every time I look at it, I'm like, yo, this game looks sick. And I'm like,
I think they should have just put Ghost of Tsushima out first. But the fact, well, which is what they were gonna do, right? But the fact that the leak came out, this is what drives me
I'm not gonna
crazy.
lie to you. I didn't like the E3 demo that they originally put it out. I was like, yo, this is a Sekiro clone. This thing looks like Sekiro with maybe a potentially bigger budget. I don't want to play it. Uh, and then actually, as things went on, it kind of developed, and I was like, oh wait, this is an open world samurai game, and it's got like,
This is the one.
yeah,
You are
this
the
it's
one.
got like big feudal Japan stuff, and I'm like, oh wait a minute, this is interesting.
Yeah, man, the violence and all that shit, and the graphics are fucking amazing, man.
Oh yeah,
So
it looks amazing.
I
There's no
like
way
it.
of the samurai gang.
Yes,
So,
I'm like,
so I think that's what Sony was banking on. I think Sony really wanted to do that. I still stand by the fact that I think that what Sony wanted to do was save The Last of Us right before the PS5 and let Ghost of Tsushima have its run. But remember, the leak came out, and then the following business day, they announced that they have a release date now. When not even a month prior, they had announced that the game was delayed indefinitely. So that whole leak just threw a whole wrench into their whole marketing plan for the summer and the rest of the year. So
Mm.
I hope it doesn't do a disservice to Ghost of Tsushima because
I think
I think that game
mhm,
is definitely at least a 9
that game looks
on
amazing.
that.
I think it's gonna be cool. But I think that a lot of games are coming up after that too, right? So like, I don't want Ghost of Tsushima to get shoved into the later end near a Cyberpunk, right? Near a
Right.
Elden Ring, near a a big, huge third party release that's gonna blow every
Mhm.
first party game out of the water, no matter what. And then
The Last of Us could have held its weight, I think, but
oh
the
yeah,
fact that the leak came out ruined everything for Sony. I think, man. Now, I kind of feel bad for them, but I kind of don't. But I just hope that Ghost of Tsushima gets its due, man. I hope it doesn't, suffer because of Sony's, managing of this whole Last of Us situation, and then, striking people on YouTube and all this stuff. It looks really bad on them right
it
now.
does.
Sony
Yeah,
is the bad guy right now. So
Mm.
I hope, Ghost of Tsushima really, helps their brand because right now, I mean, PS4 sold over 100 million, so it's running the show. But all this bad PR, they say there's no such thing as bad publicity, but there really is. So,
it's
I
rough.
hope,
I mean, it
I
harkens
hope
back to the
Ghost really
days
does
of
it.
what was it, Lizard Squad back in fucking PS3. What was it? All the hacks and the
Yeah, remember
downtimes.
that?
I remember
Yeah,
that. I was an
yeah,
Xbox
man.
kid
They,
at the
they had
time.
bro, they had to give people, I think it was a year or a few months of like some computer associate software that they had. I forgot what it was, man. They gave it to me. They like, no, for your security, to protect yourself online. Here, we're gonna pay you. We're gonna pay the service for you and shit. I was like, wow. I mean, it was bad. I mean, it was so bad that you had
It
to do
was
that. So
it was crazy.
yeah, I remember that, man.
Mm.
I remember that shit. And I don't know. I mean, it just looks bad on them right now. For all this extra stuff that they're doing.
I just realized that
Online.
this is Sucker Punch's first new game since Infamous in the 2014. Uh,
That's a long time.
it's been 6 years since they put out a
That's a
game.
long
I
time
wonder if there's like a. I wonder if they're doing a new Infamous. They should. I know a lot of people really
for
like
next
those
gen,
games.
probably.
Yeah, for
Yeah, for
PS5,
next
right?
gen.
I mean,
Yeah, I
I
think
know
so.
a lot of people like those games, so I mean,
They
it
got a
would be nice.
they got a secret Rocket Robot on Wheels remaster in
Oh
development.
boy, I
I
hope
think
so.
those though.
You're
I
just
think
looking
people
at
are
like the
sleeping on
games
that game.
developed list.
You know,
Hey,
I
no, I
think
had that game as a kid. I love it.
All right,
I really think
fair.
they're sleeping on it though. They're sleeping on the game. Um, those that have already seen it see what the game can really do, the potential of the game. I'm gonna say it right now. It's gonna be definitely in the running for Game of the Year, and I still think Final Fantasy VII will win, even though
It's gonna be in the
people can
running. It
argue
won't
with.
win, but it'll
Nobody
be there.
actually thinks that's real.
Yeah, it's gonna
This
be
is
there, but
this isn't the year you run. This is like when Tiger Woods was competing.
Yeah. It's like being the Chicago Bulls of the '90s, yo. It doesn't matter.
Right? Yeah, you're just there.
you're gonna show up and you're gonna be there, and everyone, and like Square Enix is over there in the corner, and you got Kitase over there like sipping on wine, and the rest of us are like, we all made great games this year, but
Everybody's in the back room, ready to go, prepare for the fucking for the TV spot, but all the reporters are actually just,
no, honestly, if I were
gonna be
them, I
on
would
the
just show
wing.
up in like a sweatshirt. Shit, like I mean, what are you what are you gonna do? Watch the guy walk up to the stage. I mean, power to
Yeah,
you
man.
for doing that, but I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
big as all this being said, I think that would be the greatest moment if Final Fantasy VII didn't win, and just everyone, including who actually won, is shocked about it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that would be.
I would just love the
You see
fallout.
Jim Ryan just like confused, like what the hell? What the...
Like, what is happening?
He's like-
Like something like Cyberpunk ones or something, like the brand new IP beat.
Right? It's like,
the most
what?
beloved fucking game of the last
Wait a minute, I funded both of these games. Which one won?
I don't know, man. I mean, Ghost definitely is a sleeper. If you haven't checked it out yet,
Go
do
look at
yourself
like
a
the
favor
3
and check it
trailers
out.
that exist of it and try to figure out what kind of game it is, because I don't know either, but it looks like an open world game and I'm with it. And I'm one of those people, I don't like open world games. I'm not gonna lie to you. I play MMOs, because I play with my friends, but I'm not one of those like open world gamer people. I don't spend tons of hours on Grand Theft Auto 5 or whatever. Like the
Yeah.
last open world game, unironically, that I put a long time into was like Arkham City on the 360. Like, and I'm sitting here like, yo, I want to play that game. So it's like, it's invoking a very particular
That was a
interest
great
that
game.
that is a great game.
That was
Good
a
old
great game,
Bamham.
actually.
That game is a
Yeah,
great
we
game.
had
30, we can go 30 minutes on how dope Arkham City is.
we can go another 30 on that one, but no, we'll save it. I
I
mean,
love that game actually, man. Holy shit, I forgot about that, man.
I don't know where I have that box. That game was sick.
Yeah, that was a great game, man.
That was the last time I really fucked with like an open world game, in any serious capacity, and
But
for
now
Ghost-
imagine it with swords, bro.
yeah, now I'm like,
Holy shit.
samurai action open world guy. Like, oh shit,
Cutting people up and shit. Yeah, it's gonna be sick, man.
I'm
It's
into
gonna
it.
be sick.
I'm into it. All right,
Yeah,
so
I'm
Ghost of
already sold,
Tsushima.
man.
I'm into it. I hope it does well. If it does, I'll probably be picking it up if I end up going in on like a PS5 or something like that. I really hope to be able to experience it at some point. All right, so game that we have played again, Streets of Rage 4. Now, I had to suffer, I would say, to get this game. It's actually, it was actually quite difficult for me to purchase it. It was quite difficult for me to play it, and I'm not gonna rip on it too much because I feel like it appeals to a certain kind of gamer, like Diz, who's sitting there
That certain type
laughing
of
in
gamer
the
is me.
background. Yeah, who's laughing. I know he is, and it's cool game. I'm really glad it exists. I guess I'll start with my thoughts because I didn't finish the game yet. I'll probably go back and finish it, but honestly, my patience kind of ran short on it after the first like 5 hours of playing the game. But it's visually pleasing. It's got a great
Yes.
soundtrack. The characters are reimagined in ways that I hope we see them again. Right? Like this is a game that kind of baits for more. Like you see the characters, you're like, I don't want this boss fight to be the end of it. I want to see them again. Give me more. Give me a DLC. Give me a sequel. Give me whatever. Street. This is one of those
Don't
situations
give
like.
me don't give me a later stage where now you're fighting two of them.
Yeah, no, don't give me like
No,
the two of
more,
them
but
together.
Not like
Just
that. Not like that.
just yeah, exactly. Just give me
Yeah,
more
yeah.
of these characters. Give me more of this universe. It's like Devil May Cry 5 in a way, right? Where it's like it's such a creative flourish for that studio. Where you're like, yo, man, this thing's so cool. This series is back, man. Streets of Rage. This shit is popping again. It's been how many years since we had the last one, and we're all for it. And I mean, I'm surprised that they were so traditional in the gameplay. From what I understand, the formula isn't too different. But
No, not really.
yeah, it's pretty similar, and it's so similar that they're able to just backport characters from the previous one. And hell, play Axel as from the first Streets of Rage with his sprite and his moves and everything exactly the same, and it works, right? Because the setup's there, so they're able to just inject these characters in. But I would have to say it was a rough launch for the game, which kind of rubbed me the wrong way because it took a really long time for this game to come out. And generally, when a game takes a really long time to come out, I'm kind of hoping that the polish needed goes into it, which didn't end up being the case because I had a lot of issues playing online. I had issues, playing the game with crashes. I had issues just in general with it. And the gameplay is, I guess, passing, but not necessarily for me. So I would say if you like Streets of Rage, you'll probably love it. I know a lot of people who play Streets of Rage who love it, who won't stop talking about it, who won't stop posting stuff on my timeline about it. Shout out to TSD. on Twitter, who's been just posting constant videos about it. Yeah, I think it's a game for a very particular kind of person. Like Diz, tell me about the game. How do you like it?
Okay, yeah, no, I definitely agree with the problems that'll come up. Like, I personally didn't experience the problems, but pretty much everybody I have played with or attempted to play with have had one or more of these problems come up, and I don't know what specifically is the issue. I've seen it like across. I've seen it across consoles. I've seen it across stores. So it's just a really inconsistent title, and I just feel that I got lucky on that. Like, full disclosure, I had the Microsoft Store version, so I played it on PC and I got it through Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, I owe them money. But
yeah, right. Oh yeah, I mean, if you guys have Game Pass, I recommend it as a Game Pass game. Like, oh shit, I mean,
yeah, go right after the podcast, please.
Go play it. Yeah, if you have Game Pass, just install it.
But yeah, no, hearing me gush about it like this is just, it's very strange because even back when it was announced, I thought it was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I kind of heard the like the vaporwavy music in the back, and I'm like,
this thing's
like,
gonna be cheap.
That's not quite what I understand Streets of Rage to be. And I grew up with the first three. I played two more than the other two combined. It was really a defining game of my childhood. So like I just wasn't I wasn't prepared for them to just hit it in such a degree that they did. Like, everything just felt right.
So
And
it
not
hit you in
only
nostalgia, is what you're saying.
not only did it, I was gonna say, like, it, I don't feel as much nostalgia for this as I do for some other games, which is why up until a week before it came out, I wasn't gonna play it. I was like, I might get around to it when I'll get it on sale at some point or something like that. But like, when I saw another video or two come out about that started showing off what exactly they did to expand the gameplay and how everything just beautifully flows with it, and we saw the army of composers for the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And we saw the whole, like, how the game just looks in motion and all that. I'm like, this game's actually real. Now like, maybe I can't get it, and I gotta wait for a paycheck to get this game. I'm gonna feel bad the whole time. And then base Microsoft came through. but now, yeah, after like a weekend with it, I'm fully subscribed. Like, this might be a mainstay fixture for a good bit. We're goofing off and playing it in the middle of other games. We're talking about it all the time. I've got a run done on hard. That was like the first day or so that I played it. I'm working on the hardest on towards the end on that, and like, I've got a co-op mania run going at the same time. So we're really trying to get everything. We're trying to squeeze everything out of this game that we can, and I don't do that with games often, especially considering how many I have. Like, I gotta say, it's incredible. I was not expecting to see this.
It left you more impressed. It left you more impressed than you anticipated, right? Because I mean, you said you know it's a game you played as a child, and you're like, wow, this is actually a full-fledged game that I can really invest some time. You know, so I haven't played enough of it, so I don't really want to pass judgment on the game. But seeing you guys play it, it looks like it's a lot of fun. And unfortunately, you know, for Shib, you know, he was having those issues with the game, which is really
it's gonna be one of those games that like I haven't seen it update yet, but it needs patches. It's gonna be like, you know, it's a game that I'm gonna have to retrospective on. I'm gonna have to look at it. I'm gonna be like, is this game really that good? Is it, you know, months down the line, would I still recommend this game? If I'm able to play it with my friends, you know, I think as a single player experience, honestly, it falters a little, because it's the same old game from the old ones, and you're either gonna love that or you're gonna hate that. But I don't think it does enough to. Okay,
It's built for a specific
It
crowd.
is,
Like
and one of the
they
things,
make amenities, but
one of
like
the things
at
they
the
could have
same time,
done.
they don't stray very far.
Yeah, exactly. They introduced new characters, right? But
Mm-hmm.
none of them are like. I feel like what they could do to kind of relieve the issues that I have with it is that they could make a character for people who may not be familiar with beat 'em ups, right? Like, because Axel, he's slow, he's he's limited in movement options, he's very traditional, and then you have Adam, who's got his spot dash, he's kind of the same idea. You have Blaze, who's also very slow, very offensive, doesn't have a lot of escape methods. Cherry has mobility. I think Cherry was the best character for like new players because she's fast. Because when you go into these games, you don't know that they're kind of slow games actually.
It's your attention span. They needed, yeah.
Yeah, like
I think the speed helps with that.
I think the game maybe could have used with characters that kind of changed it up a little bit more. So that way, somebody who's like not familiar with it could be like, all right, well, this fits a mold of game that I'm more familiar with. Because all the characters kind of feel very very rule very rule abiding. I don't know if I want to put it that way, right?
Not many rule breakers in the streets.
Yeah, very template.
Yeah, they all feel like they all play a very similar game, with exceptions to like the command grab character and Cherry's run and stuff like that. But I don't think those things are that huge, right? Yeah, no, interesting game. I was very excited to play it, so I'm kind of surprised that I ended up having the reaction I did. But yeah, Streets of Rage 4.
Yeah, I guess we kind of had the inverted experience.
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah, you were more excited to play it.
I was excited. I've been very excited for a very long time. I was like, you know what, this game looks very cool. Now I just have to wait for Windjammers 2.
Yeah.
Same studio, same. I don't know if it's the same art people, but
hopefully
gotta deal with the same system.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That better have GGPO at least. It won't.
Yeah, you need reactions for Windjammers.
It won't. I hope it does though.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's Streets of Rage. Anyway, let's look at the last piece of news before we close it on the episode. Mortal Kombat 11 is giving us something new again. And earlier today, there was a trailer where they cut to the ending of the story mode where, Liu Kang, the fire god, stamps in front of Kronika's hourglass and begins to reshape the future. And there's like a portal, and Shang, they say Raiden says Shang Tsung in big exposition dialogue, and he's, there's like a cut where you see like 3 people walking through a portal, and that's it. We don't know anything else. Okay.
Very Avengers Endgame.
Very Endgame type thing. And Shang Tsung is saying that they better stop before they doom us all, and he's got some helpers there with him, and we don't know who they are, and we don't know what any of this is about. Anyway, so I guess the context here is that we knew that there was something called a Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath Edition in the works from a Steam database leak. I mean, not necessarily from a leak. I mean, this wasn't leaked internally or anything. It was just it was just pushed onto the Steam store, and a scraping service found it. So yeah, because I don't want to confound it with like the kind of thing that happened with The Last of Us. Just it was just something they messed up on. Anyway,
yeah.
So now we know that there's going to be a story expansion to Mortal Kombat 11, and I mean, a Combat Pack 2 I think is inevitable, right? Like they've been saying for a long time that Mortal Kombat 11 was going to be supported for a very long time. For many years, right? Longer than usual. Usually an NRS game is supported for about a year and a half, right? More or less.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about it, the next Injustice or the next Mortal Kombat. And this time, we're going to get more of this game. And, I think that's interesting because not everybody loves MK11. I think it's better. I like it more than I like MKX.
I fully agree with that.
I like it more than I like MKX, so I'm willing to accept it. I'm willing to accept it stay, especially if they can give us more characters or maybe make more drastic changes to the combat. I'd be interested in seeing how they perhaps rework it, right? Because if they want to introduce new mechanics or rework them a la Dragon Ball FighterZ Season 3, that'd be cool. I mean, I don't think they necessarily have to do that, but people kind of assign this this kind of staleness to the MK11 formula, where people say, oh, all these characters kind of work the same. We see it all the time, and that's true. I mean, the competitive meta for MK11 has been very, 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 very much the same over time.
Bland.
Diz, you got something to say?
I wouldn't say like yeah. I'm of course looking at it from a different scope because I'm a bland individual, but like
Yeah, he's a
I
Cetrion player, is what he's saying.
Close. I'm a Jade player.
All right, fair enough.
but but no, I think there. I think most of what the gameplay system of MK11 is for, like it's very solid from a core. They
It
just
is,
want they just want a little. The people basically want MK10, and that's not gonna happen. Like MK10 was a wild and crazy game, even comparing it to like MK9 or Era of the
Yeah.
Injustice or anything like that. That's sort of an anomaly title. So there's no way you're getting that back, but a lot of systems could get ported into here just to make the game a little bit faster, a little bit more fluid, and give people a little bit more like they're basically they want more combos. Give them more combos. That's fine.
Yeah, give him more combo sauce. Let's do it.
Give them more combos. But there's a lot of decisions that I think could be changed, and they do have room to change them that I do believe are good ideas. Like I've always had a little bit of an issue with wholly how the meter works. I've had issues with like how Fatal Blow works as a whole. The loadouts, like all that stuff. So there's lots of places to work with and be able to just make general improvements without just upending the game. So I think they should sort of stay the course, but they have places where they can smooth out.
Mm-hmm. All right, I see.
And that's all I got on the gameplay front. Like everything else, who knows? But
all right, I feel you.
I think. Well, I saw the article that was posted on Polygon, and what caught my attention was the URL. The URL
you
said
mentioned that.
MK12 DLC. So I was like,
okay. I think they just messed up.
I think that's just a screw up.
It could be, right? Obviously, it could be, but I just think I just think that it's super interesting how, we're gonna get very likely a continuation to the current story that we know right at the end. I don't want to give any spoilers, but if you watch the trailer, you already know kind of what happened.
I already gave it away. I'm sorry. I already said it. I literally said it.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is like, what happens with Liu Kang and all that other crazy.
Oh,
shit,
sure.
right?
Okay,
So,
I didn't say that.
So, so I think it's super interesting that we're gonna see something like this. I don't recall this being done personally, right? From my personal experience with some fighting games, that they go ahead and add an update that changes the story. I know Street Fighter went ahead and added a story mode after 5 came out.
Yeah,
Because
it added a story mode, right? Like keyword added.
Right, not continued,
not expanded. Yeah.
So I think that's really interesting. Actually, I think that's listen. Mortal Kombat is always going to have a special place in my heart because I remember playing Mortal Kombat as a 5-year-old. Okay, so I'm 33 now.
You know what I'm
saying? Yeah, exactly. So then I'm 33.
Hey,
now.
play the Genesis version.
You know what I'm saying? So I played it when it came out, and I've played every single one of them. And there's been some that are been favored more than others, just like anybody else might feel about it. But obviously with the reimagining that they started in the PS3 and the PS3 Xbox 360 days with the MK9 title, and then of course with MKX and now 11. I mean, MK9 is MK9, man. People still love that game. MKX, like you said, it's an anomaly, man. People love it. People hate it. I wasn't much of a fan of X, but I still bought 11 because it's Mortal Kombat, right? Just like you said, Diz. Mortal Kombat is always going to be Mortal Kombat for you. So this might sound a little crazy, but I'd rather see what happens with the story than actually, check out the new characters or the new mechanics. I kind of don't care about that in a way, which sounds weird because obviously to get through the story, you have to play the game. But there's so much history there, and the way that NetherRealm has flipped the script on the game, it's super interesting. And then now that they're gonna add a new expansion to the story with the current game, it has my attention. You see what I'm saying? So like, I don't really care too much about what they add and who comes to the game and all this craziness. And I want
I
to see
do.
what happens in the story.
I care.
And that's fine. And that's
But
fine
no,
because you play fighting games more than me now, right? I've gotten to a
yeah,
point where I just don't play fighting games as much as I used to. But the story is always going to matter to me because
mm,
growing up, even the Mortal Kombat movie was one of my favorite movies of all time. You see what I'm
yes.
saying? So like, it has a different effect on me now. So honestly, like he says, like Squid says, he says he loves watching the games being played. I like watching the story because I just like the way they put it together now. So now that you see the trailer and you see Liu Kang there with Raiden, and then Shang Tsung pops up and he says, don't do this or we're all gonna get doomed. And then you see the little URL says MK12. Obviously, that's speculation, but we obviously already know that there's going to be a continuation to the story. And nobody really expected this. Everybody expected that the continuation would happen when the new title comes out,
Well,
right?
Mm.
that's
Even
what I
if you
was
said that they
gonna.
would support the game, but I didn't expect it to be a story. I expected it maybe just more characters or an update to the mechanics. I didn't expect a continuation to the story,
Yeah.
which is cool.
I
Uh,
agree with your point of view. Yeah, I'll let you go first, because I'll probably
I
go
was
for
just
a
gonna
bit.
say, just in regards to the URL, while I don't think they're gonna call anything Mortal Kombat 12, I think it's very interesting that a game like Mortal Kombat is kind of a live service game. It's very smart, right? And like as you
No
mentioned,
question.
it's the first time I see a fighting game really gone in that direction. Street Fighter V was supposed to be this, for the record. It was supposed to be this game that constantly got patches. It was this game that was supposed to have, this evolving lifespan. But it ended up kind of panning out with a very traditional format, if you ask me. It just had more season passes than usual. But to
It was very
me,
Capcom-ish.
yeah, to me, it just ended up being traditional and not really game breaking anyway.
Right. The biggest thing is that
MK11,
you didn't have to rebuy the game.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the only ground they broke necessarily. But I mean, Arc System games, well, not every game. After
But
Exart,
whatever. No,
after after
I
Exart,
had to buy Revelator.
after
Whatever.
Exart. All right, I'll give that up. After Rev 2, Arxis was doing the same thing. So, and Tekken 7 did that, right? Didn't have that problem. So
They
to
said
me,
didn't have the problem because they didn't release for a bit.
yeah, because they were they were chilling in the arcades for a minute there until they were really ready to. Yeah, chat has it right. Unfortunately, right? So MK11 taking this live server format is interesting, and hopefully it gives us more interesting characters. Um, I hope that the game does get a little crazier. I find MK11 to be very subdued, and I don't know. I'm saying that like I don't play like BB Tag. I don't play MKX. I don't play these games for hours. Those games are too crazy for me. And even MK11 for me is just this subdued and very I guess controlled game that people have been complaining about for a while. Um, People say that about Street Fighter 5 all the time. People are like, oh, that game,
Mm.
the game plan's too simple. There's no expression. I don't know what these Street Fighter 4 hits say mean by that. Not gonna lie to you, but they say it.
I
But
want my one frame link
I
back.
want my FADC everywhere. I don't know what you guys mean by that, but they say it. So I
Swamp
mean,
Pants, I forgot
I'm
about
just
that
gonna be
shit.
like, yeah, I'm gonna be like, yep, you guys are right. Anyway, Diz, go.
Like no, I fully agree with Alien's point. Like the point of view that he has is the Mortal Kombat is the only fighting game where I kind of have that point of view. Like I pay attention to the lore of a lot of fighters. There's a few that I completely don't even bother with. Basically, like I don't know, BlazBlue or SoCal or something like that. But like overall, I do pay attention to the lore of fighting games. I do understand them. I do love them. Like I have grown up with these things, and I absolutely follow the stories of pretty much everyone that I can. Mortal Kombat's a unique case where like the gameplay has always been so secondary as to the in comparison to the story, just because it's never outside of a few outlier titles, it's never even been on the level to where it could outpace any other part of itself as a game. So like, yeah, no, I agree. I agree about the like I'm not even looking at this update for gameplay. Like I agree with that. Like I don't I'm talking about the gameplay things just because like that's where my base of knowledge is, but I'm looking at it kind of I'm in my heart I'm looking at it the same way. I mentioned like right after I saw the trailer, I tweeted it out. I was like I was already kind of done with Mortal Kombat. Like I wasn't even I wasn't the biggest fan of the story this time around. I haven't really been a fan of the direction of the series since the reboot. There's things I like, there's things I don't like, but overall I feel like I have not liked the where the series has ended up
Mm-hmm.
from a lore standpoint, from a universe standpoint, from even from a character building standpoint. But all I have to hear is Shang Tsung and know that it's the god CHT that's gonna be on the mic for a couple of hours being a point man for a story expansion, and I'm all in again. I'm like, how much money do I have to give you?
Throw money at the
Like,
screen right now.
it's amazing how core that is to Mortal Kombat, and I appreciate that they're kind of remembering that. Like they do understand they've always been a sort of redheaded stepchild when it comes to gameplay. Everybody's like, man, what is going on with this? What's going on with this? Have you seen the animation here?
Yeah.
Even now, freaking people still joke about like Terminator's leg. I was like, it's perfectly
Terminator's
understandable
no
from this
joke to
one,
me. I'm.
Well, well, I want to
one
piggyback on
thing
what Diz
to
said.
point at.
Just real quick.
Go ahead.
Diz, remember you were streaming one day and we were talking about the music for Mortal Kombat 2, and then we were talking about how, like, I remember seeing it as a kid, and then we're watching the intro cinematic, and then you see this guy on the screen with a skeleton head and all this fire behind him, and we find out that Shao Kahn, and like
Mm,
the story was so appealing to you because then you thought it was over, okay, and then next thing you know, boom, they hit you with this, and then they hit you with that. So the story for Mortal Kombat has just always had that feel to it, right? Where it just
yeah.
gets your attention no matter what. Like, you might think, okay, that was it. Okay, cool, whatever. We still got the game to play, but then some twist happens. Then Mortal Kombat 3 he comes to Earth and they introduce a new character in Sindel and all this craziness. So they always have a way to get your attention back into the game. Maybe it might be because we're fans for such a long time, but I
Mm,
also you have to give credit to good story writing too, right?
yeah.
And good vision, right? So
Yes.
I think with this announcement that's it's going to be revealed tomorrow, I think a lot of people are going to be really excited, man. I think obviously, the thing about that loses people about Mortal Kombat, in my opinion, especially the newer ones, is all these guest characters. Sometimes you're like, well, it's cool to have, your fighting game characters and all this stuff, but you're not really getting, fighters from other games come in, right? You're getting, all these Hollywood, characters and all this other stuff incorporated into the game, but they fit, right? The one difference is that in the sense they kind of fit. They don't necessarily fit the story. Some of them may not, some of them do, but it's a blockbuster kind of game, right?
The problem with that is the only reason they fit is because, as a whole, the way Mortal Kombat is sold is by people murdering each other a bunch. And
Exactly.
the Hollywood characters that they choose to get as guests are really good at murdering people. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
so
So it
that's
fits.
why they.
I,
That's
I
the
The
mean,
violence.
only reason they fit.
It definitely fits with the violence. But I think, that's some people would like playing Mortal Kombat because they want to get all these characters added and they want to see, okay, I want to know what's big movie characters going to be added this time because I just want to see how crazy it's going to look in Unreal Engine. I think it's Unreal Engine. Yeah, Unreal
yeah, it
Engine
is.
and all this other shit, right? Cool. But for people like us, the story is where it's always been at. And when we saw what happened at the end of 11, and then we see like, oh shit, they're gonna restart,
They're
maybe,
rebooting
right?
again. Like,
Like,
yeah,
oh shit, what's gonna happen? And then we get a trailer saying, oh shit, it's gonna happen tomorrow. And like, oh
yeah.
shit, I'm gonna have to fucking reinstall this game because this shit's not even on my computer.
Yes,
But
exactly.
like, oh
I
shit,
gotta
I might have
reinstall
to
because
do
I gotta
this.
be ready
We're
for
like,
what
oh
Shang
shit,
Tsung is gonna say.
because I mentioned this earlier. I mentioned this earlier to Shib. I'm like, listen, man, like, I hope it's free.
I don't think so.
Okay,
No.
But
There's
no, but
no
hold on,
way.
but hold on, but hold
I
on, but
think
hold on,
you're
but hold
gonna
on,
put much into it.
but hold on. Because at first I looked at it as just combat pack, right? But then I rewatched and I'm like, no, actually, this is not just a combat pack.
They're only talking about story here.
This
That
is gonna
they
be
didn't
a
even
whole
mention.
story mode. You know,
Yeah, but
like
I don't think you get to.
look,
I don't think you get to introduce Shang Tsung and then it's just like another skin of like Sub Zero and Scorpion walks up behind
no
them.
way.
Like that'd be lame.
Yeah, no way.
You can't do that. You
But this
have
is
to put new
perfect though. But this is
characters
the
in there.
perfect way to actually introduce a combat pack too by continuing the story, right? Having those new characters influence what actually goes on in the lore, and then giving the people an opportunity to play as them.
I mean,
So if it's like a $30 add-on, I'm for it. I
how
think
much
that's
was the
smart.
combat pack? $30, right?
It was $30, but if I get a combat pack for $30 plus a continuation to the story,
Yeah, that's what
that's
I
a
think
better
would
deal.
happen. I think it would be
That's a
that.
much better
I
deal.
think they'll sell you the story and then you get the characters. I think that's what would happen.
I like that.
I think it's easier to do it like that because you don't have to balance the story. And we've seen a similar strat in MK10. If you'll remember in the story mode for that game, there were multiple characters that weren't in the game that you fought against as opponents, and they were like fleshed out as characters for the most part. Like that's where you fought Tanya there before she became a proper character, and then when they added her, they like finished out her moveset and made it her proper kit in her proper look in there. But up until then, it was almost like placeholdery where they're like, yo, this is absolutely what we could be doing. All these characters could make it in, all these characters could not. But we're showing that we have the freedom to just put whoever we want in for any reason. Sindel was in there. We ain't seen her up until she hit this combat pack.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of room to work here where they could just release whatever they want. It's a single player experience. They don't have to balance anything, so it's easier to make than a character.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
Like a
just
full-fledged
I
character to play
in
as.
regards to new characters, just guys like just put the cyborgs in, right? And then just give us 3 other characters.
They should have been in by now.
They should have been in by
A lot
now.
of characters should have been in by now.
I mean, yeah, no, I mean like whenever I think about like combat pack, I'm like, well, okay, these Hollywood characters are great, but like, can you guys put new characters in there? Can you put not new characters, but like, can you guys put Mortal Kombat characters in there? Maybe
Yeah, like
it's a hint.
As a
characters
the
from the hit
focus.
game Mortal Kombat. That'd be
From
a
the hit
great
game
group of
Mortal
characters to
Kombat came
drop
out in 2011.
You know what's
Yeah,
interesting, guys? That the announcement is so early too. It's at
Mhm.
9 Eastern, 6
Why
Pacific.
though?
I don't remember it being
I'm
anything
cool
being
with.
revealed so early.
I don't know.
No,
It's whatever.
what I want to say is
I want to
don't-
wake up and see the trailer. That's nice.
I don't think it's gonna be ready tomorrow to even purchase or whatever because it's Wednesday.
Nah.
But I just found it super interesting. Why is it getting so early?
I don't know.
Why? I mean, I know they're gonna do a Last of Us trailer also.
Because
tomorrow,
Nether
but-
Realms is
'Cause
insane.
They don't have to release it all. They don't have to do a trailer of everything at once like they would have if they were setting up for E3.
Mhm.
Man,
When do you think
Game
we'll see this
Awards that Game Awards intro was so good. Well, it wasn't good, but it was something.
Guys, when you think we'll see it? When you think we'll see whatever this is?
I have no idea.
Available.
NRS has never done this. That's why I have no idea.
Yeah.
This is completely
And-
outside of
and
anything
you
they've ever
can't-
done.
And you can't call on the trends, and even if they do show you or tell you something, you can't believe it because like NRS is
It's
they're
Ed Boon.
a big old group of liars over there. You
it's
will
Ed Boon,
tell
bro.
you something. Yeah. you can't trust nothing.
Yeah, you can. I mean,
You know what?
And they'll
think
sit
we're
there and
gonna get
hide
it
stuff
sooner.
just to hide it.
I think we'll get it sooner than any of us actually think. I think by the end of the month we'll get it.
It would be sweet if Ed Boon was just like, "Hey, look under your seats. The update's ready."
Oh, bro, if he does that, he's gonna win the internet tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
If he
There's
does
no
that,
way.
he's gonna win the internet tomorrow. I would fucking buy that shit. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I'm gonna install this shit right now.
Yeah.
But
Just
I don't
oh
know,
for
god.
Storm.
Seriously, man. Like when I
I
saw
will
that
buy
and
it,
they
but I
said,
wouldn't get to play it
Shang Tsung,
until the next day
I'm like,
because you know how
whoa.
PC version is.
The
Yeah,
only
yeah.
thing that
That's
would
true.
stop me is if they said, "Okay, you want the rest of the story content? You got to go find it in the crypt." That's
Oh
the
no.
only thing. It would be like, "All right, you know what? Never mind.
You
We're
know,
not
we're
doing it.
good.
Yeah. I'm
I'll
not
go to
doing
YouTube."
this.
No, but
Yeah, because Squid says that Fujin, because you see a guy with some sort of
yeah, it'll
stick or
probably be
sword.
Fujin
Might
and I
be.
don't know some other character from Outworld that's like really requested. I mean, I think that this is the opportunity for them to go with like very weird characters.
Yeah, because again, this is another timeline jump. So there's a reboot. So and Shang's already coming in super weird, where
On a teleport.
he's not a raw he's not like a raw villain in the setup, which he's always a raw villain.
Yeah, he's like something
He
else
I
now.
mean he might turn on everybody and go souls later, but like for right now, like we're seeing him as the voice of reason, and anybody could be next to him. So this could be the goofiest squad of characters that they could possibly think of
Yeah.
coming in.
I think it's gonna be characters that have been in previous games for sure.
It also could
But
be characters out of the first combat pack. Let's not throw that aside. They still might have story relevance.
Oh yeah,
could,
they
but
will.
I have a
That's
feeling
for sure.
we're gonna get a lot of surprises and people are gonna be really excited actually. And I think they need it. I think in a sense, NetherRealm has to do that. I don't want to give too like okay, Evo was Evo, right? But it definitely hurts a
Evo's
fighting
Evo.
game franchise that was
So
there
get there in a
last
second.
year. Yeah, it definitely hurts a fighting game franchise that's been around for so long that was there last year and
Nah,
not get put there this year.
you know what?
So
Every
so I think
franchise gets hit by that though.
You know what?
sure,
You know
sure, sure.
what
But hold
though?
on, but hold on. But so I think what they want to do is I don't want to say maintain relevancy, but I think they still want to show that they still are something. So for them to do something like this and revamp their story with an update, it kind of draws your attention to it now. Like, oh shit, look what they're doing over there. So I don't know. That's just how I look at it. How whatever took place between those two parties. But I just think with this happening, it really draws your attention back to Mortal Kombat. In a sense, and I think that's cool. But
All
I
right,
don't know.
next time we do this episode, the next time we do the podcast, completely side note, next time we do the podcast, the chat is going on the overlay because I am dying right now reading this. I am dying.
Yeah, do it,
we
man.
we need to do that. I've considered it for a little while,
Yeah.
but you guys have been popping the last two episodes, so I'm like I'm gonna do it. But no, you know what? I actually disagree with you in regards to Evo. If any game in fighting games is going to transcend the FGC, and by transcend I mean be successful, like actually successful, right? From a business perspective.
we have something that besides Smash.
Exactly. So that we have something that our genre has taken and blown up, right? Something that is big.
I
If
know what game
they
you're
need
gonna
to
say.
do these things regardless of whether or not the game shows up at Evo, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm sure that the guys at Bandai and Namco, they sit around in this table and they're like, which fighting game tournaments did our game show up this year? Right? And they look at each other and they go off the list, right? Because that is their gauge of success, right? If they don't show up at tournaments, just don't make the game. But MK doesn't have to, because so many people play that game just for the sake of playing it because they like the characters, because they like the story, whatever, or because the netcode is
they like
good.
ripping people. They like ripping people in half. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
Whatever.
Or because you can play it online, or whatever reason you want, because it's iconic, right? It transcends the tournament scene. So
Yes.
I'm glad that we can talk about MK11 getting a major new expansion in the face of canceling at Evo. We don't need them, is what NRS says. We don't need these people to prove our franchise can sell a bazillion copies because people like our game that much. Yeah, it just doesn't depend on that kind of thing. So I think that's a major success for NRS, and I'm glad that MK11 is gonna see a few more years at least another year and a half, right? At least another life cycle by NRS standards. So yeah, I think that's great. Now we do have to address Evo since we brought that up.
The elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room is that Evo is canceled. Now, Um, I'm gonna try to cover new ground because if you guys want to know what I think about Evo, I uploaded a video on our the GBL YouTube channel, just a short 8-minute video explaining my thoughts about it. So I'm gonna try to riff on that. I highly recommend if you're watching this later, or you've watched it now, then maybe just go look at the video later and talk about it. To address the chat, Injustice 2 was about a year and a half. Every one of these games is about a year and a half in regards to NRS life cycles. But Evo. So yeah, they canceled Evo. It looks like actually we just got fresh confirmation that Combo Breaker? No, not Combo Breaker. East Coast Throwdown is also canceled, I think. Let me confirm that. But yeah, here we go. Yeah. East Coast Throwdown is canceled regarding ECT 20 and 2021 from the event team. Yeah, so they are. That's 2 of them down now. So basically everything until CEO in December is basically off the table. Now, the situation is that they want to do an online tournament, and we've discussed this already, that they need to use this opportunity, at least in my opinion, to showcase games that are doing it right instead of have a disaster all over the internet. Just like this vomit of clips of laggy matches all over the internet. Like, I just don't think it's productive for anyone. It sets us all back massively. It's gonna
Yeah.
bore me after the umpteenth clip. I'm gonna be like, guys, this is tiresome. I don't want to look at the internet until the end of the weekend, and even then. But we will discuss this in a separate episode, which will hopefully have a very special guest, about how Evo has impacted our perceptions of fighting games, how Evo should look at this situation moving forward, because we're still a while away, and how we can hopefully have some productive discussion about the importance of Evo, the importance of its being absence, of the its absence in itself is a massive thing, and what can we expect from an online version of Evo, right? Like, what should it really be? How should we do it? Who should be doing it? And yeah, hopefully bring in some expert opinions that I can't quite. Unfortunately, at this time, I'm not able to announce the special guest for the next episode of the podcast, but I highly recommend keeping an eye out, because on Friday night, we're going to have a very special guest for the next GBL podcast. I don't know if you guys have anything in particular that you want to say first in regarding Evo before we get there, just in closing.
In closing, I think we spoke about this, the other day. I think it's gonna be a revealing moment for the community and also for the developers. Obviously, a lot of money is gonna be lost, but the fact that it's not gonna be held in Vegas anymore, right? They're in a casino. There's rooms, there's food, there's merchandising, all kinds of stuff. So it definitely has an effect on Vegas's economy. Not a huge effect like a boxing match or something like that, but it generates some money, right? So that's always important. However, now that we have this issue going on worldwide where people are being told to stay home, social distancing, and everything like that, um, I think it's time to call everyone's bluff.
Yeah.
Because this is going to expose a lot in the fighting game community and in the industry side of things. And I look at it like this. It's very important for Evo, because Evo is the flagship, right?
It is the flagship.
Evo, right? So it's very important for them to make sure that A, they don't make the FGC look bad. B, they don't make the developers look bad. And C, that they don't make themselves look bad. Because imagine, if they go ahead and have a bunch of games whose online capabilities are very poor, it looks bad on them too, because you're the ones that are choosing these games to be there.
Yeah, you're making a conscious decision, right? I mean,
exactly.
It is.
So
when I preface, just to preface, when I talked about this originally, and I talked about Evo canceling, I didn't say Evo is canceled. I said the largest open bracket tournament in gaming anywhere is canceled, because that's true. This is not. This is bigger than FGC. This is a gaming event in general. This is huge. You can sign up for Evo, and it's still one of the biggest events ever. And
Yeah.
the fact that they're able to do that, and now that we have to scramble and figure out what this is going to look like in an online format, I mean, it's very telling of the management, right? Because you can run an Evo, right, the way you have run Evo for the past few years. I would say the past few years of Evo have been kind of the same, right?
Hmm.
I mean, they're doing the Marvel 2 Invitational, or they were, so as a way to kind of change things. But Evo's been run a certain way for a very long time. You have a select roster of games. You know, we can ignore the online mode. You know, they're big games at the moment. People talk about them a lot in the FGC at that time. There's never like a huge wildcard title unless it's like, I don't know, what was the last wildcard title?
Under Night.
Undernight, yeah,
Yeah.
Undernight was the wildcard title. But all of these things are run very, very orderly, right? Now, none of that applies here. All that goes off the table. Now we got to talk to people who know how to run online tournaments. Now we got to know how online tournaments are run. Now we got to know which games are available. So there's a lot of questions that we have to ask ourselves now. Diz, I don't know what you think about that.
Like, well, most of my thoughts are in line with yours or have been said already. It's just a big gut check moment for all of us, and I think the main telling thing as a community is that it just shows how behind the times that we were to begin with, and we don't compare ourselves as a genre to other genres enough because other genres are fine with this. And that's always been the issue. But I do appreciate that you brought up biggest open bracket, because
That ever since I found out about
no
that,
other esport is like that. Like,
yeah, nothing else is
grassroots
like
is the
this.
core to the fighting game community. So if you can't replicate that, you kind of lose the soul of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah. I mean, the chat says, you know, people were surprised by Marvel 2. They were, but I mean, putting on a Marvel 2 8-man bracket isn't exactly the hardest thing in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, we can do that right now.
we can do that here, yeah, on the stream right now if you wanted to. We can get 8 cats. Yeah,
we can literally run. It won't be a great Marvel 2 bracket,
but it'll be something. Yeah, exactly.
It's functional Marvel 2 bracket.
Yeah, Yipe's doing it in his basement. Yeah, no, Battle of the Strongest, right? Like, yeah, exactly, right? Like, it's not like innovative. It's just we like the game, so we run the game, and you know it's gonna be on stream, and people are gonna love it. You know, but like, you know, that's not out of the box. Online tournament, that's out of the box.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's thinking outside the box here. But only for the FGC. I mean, the rest of gaming has been fine with it, which is kind of the depressing part about it. Everyone else is cool. I mean, you know,
no, nobody's screaming about netcode really.
Yeah, no, they're not.
Not nearly as often. Yeah.
The fact, you know what's interesting? When I pay attention to like competitive League of Legends or Call of Duty, they don't talk about the online. They don't complain. What they complain about is the fact that the players are in their houses and therefore they cannot focus the same. Like, they're literally having a conversation about the setting of where they're playing,
they're
because
above.
exactly, because they're like, you know, we don't have to worry about the game working. The game works, of course it does. What the hell are you guys talking about? We just can't get in the zone.
Your game doesn't work? How'd y'all get this far?
how'd you exactly. It's one of those things. It's like, you know, I'm interested to seeing how they're able to adapt to change. It is embarrassing, yeah, but I want to see them adapt to change, and I want to see them try. And I mean, look,
They have to.
I am hoping, honestly, that we can come back to the Evo episode and maybe have some good news, right?
Yeah.
Regarding the future of Evo. Maybe not, but we'll see. Yeah, set training mode to 10 frame lag. You know what's really funny though? Just to address the chat, since now we're talking about that, I've been seeing combos where like they go into Arxis videos, like Arxis video games, they like set the frame delay up to 20, like the internal frame delay, and they do combos and they post to Twitter videos. I think that shit's hilarious, by the way. Like, that's like really smart. I'm like, you know, that's a statement.
That was a big thing when fighting games started coming out with a frame delay in their training modes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Now every game has that. Fuck you mean? Like, every game just has to have it. You know how? Yeah, muscle memory does apply, but there's situations where
that's what combos are. So whatever.
It's the same. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, no, that's that's it. I mean, we're gonna have to see each other on Friday again and discuss Evo in more detail, and hopefully we'll have a list of topics and we'll go over it and we'll have a guest on to talk about. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, we might even talk about that Mortal Kombat thing tomorrow,
Yeah, I
right? 'Cause,
think. Well,
it'll
I
be
think what's gonna
fresh.
end up happen is that we're gonna talk about Mortal Kombat on the stream for Evo. I think that's what's gonna end up happening because I mean, people have been posting their dream lineups for Evo online on Twitter all day, and everyone
Mhm.
included MK11 because the game just works. We don't have any problems with it. Just
It's the highest profile game with rollback, so like
exactly.
it's got to be in.
It's got to be there. So I'm sure that
Changes
it's
the
going to be
game now.
part of the conversation. Like a game that was out of the
Definitely changes the
conversation
Yeah,
for
game.
Evo is now the biggest piece of
100%
conversation.
gone. And
It's
I honestly semi agreed with cutting it. Semi. I think I
somewhat.
could have made another cut, but like I'm like, you know what? All right, fair enough, fair enough. But now that it's a different playing field. Now that
Yeah,
you're
it's
playing
like,
in
oh, so
Outworld,
now you need me. It's like, oh, so now
Playing
you
with
need me,
Outworld,
huh?
and
now
now
now the tournament's in Outworld where Shao Kahn runs the show.
Now you need me, huh?
and
Forgot
now
about me over here, didn't you,
it's crazy. I
huh?
mean, yeah, I mean,
Oh man.
it's very possible. Like every time I say I do these podcast episodes, I say the same thing. It's very possible by the next time we have this episode, everything's gonna be upended, and we're gonna have a whole nother topic of discussion. And yeah,
Mhm.
that hasn't really stopped. So I'm glad that we were able to discuss some of the things that we've played, and really get the verdict out on a couple of the things that we've not been able to put enough of time into lately. And we'll be back Friday, one for a Karnov's Revenge tournament. So if anyone wants to watch some Karnovs, tune
Hell
in
yeah.
Friday, 10 o'clock. But before that, we're gonna do
Dua,
the
dua.
episode of the pod. Yeah, that game is. I've been playing a little bit of that. Just training, and it's hard because I'm always. You guys like. I don't care what tournament it's gonna be. I'm gonna play and I'm gonna commentate at the same time, and I'm gonna play Karnovs and I'm gonna commentate Karnovs and I'm gonna be. Uh,
Who do you play?
I've been playing Ray, but verdict's out on
Fair
whether
enough.
I'm gonna play Ray. I mean, like, um, Lee looked interesting. I just haven't played him yet. It's interesting,
Oh,
but
oh, yeah, I think you'll like me.
I'm gonna have to try it. I mean, the game is extremely weird to me. It's like quarter circle back as reversal action just scares me as a concept. Like, like I'm like wheel kick. I'm like, wait a minute, this is what I have to do on reversal. I'm looking like, and it sucks because sometimes I miss it and I'm like, wait a minute, this is like Jago stuff, right? Just like YOLO Jago 214B like Tatsu.
Yeah,
And but
yeah.
I can't translate that move list for whatever.
It's a doofy game.
It's
At
a
times.
doofy game. That's really all I have to say about it. Anyway, yeah, we'll be back here on Friday. That's just gonna be it for me, guys, for the stream. So as usual, we'll be going over to Diz's channel. I'm gonna give it a rate.
Yep.
But that's it at the end of the podcast. We'll be seeing you guys on Friday. Hope to see you all there. We're gonna have some very important announcements. So if you're not following me on Twitter, think about doing so. Feel free to drop a follow for the channel, and we'll see you all next time.